Welcome to We Don't Owe You Shit with me, Caden Coleman. Make sure to follow, like, and subscribe to this podcast. And leave a comment, damn it. I want to know what you think. Hey everybody, welcome to We Don't Owe You Shit, Episode 1, Season 2. So, we are revamping the podcast, and I hope that you really enjoyed Season 1. I've definitely upgraded some things that I hope that you can notice. And if you didn't listen to Season 1, please go back and binge watch it, and then share it with your friends if you're not transphobic or racist or fatphobic or ableist. Thanks so much. I want to start off the podcast by first doing some shout outs. So first I want to give a shout out to some of my Patreon subscribers. The Patreon subscribers are the ones who can see the actual video of this, and they get everything a day early, and they get input on what content I put out and all that good stuff. So shout out to Casey Roy, Leisha Wilson, Becky Button, Jesse Fritag, Rebecca Reed, T, Harley Robertson, and Jamie Sybin. I'm probably butchering that. I'm sorry. Anyway, thank you for your subscriptions. Also, for people who interacted with my very last episode, the one featuring Casey Roy, where we talked about white supremacy and toxic masculinity and all that good stuff. We got Nai again, who commented and said, another banger for real. Props to both of y'all for having these uncomfortable conversations and sharing y'all's experience. I love this podcast so much. And then we also had Zaddy DQ, who said, awesome episode. Thank you both so much. If you'd like an awesome shout out, please feel free to subscribe to the Patreon or just leave a comment. We like interaction. We love to see it. So what are we talking about today? Well, we're going to be talking about conscious parenting, which is the way that I parent, and why I'm so adamant about not physically spanking my children or cursing at them crazy or talking down to them or anything like that. So the first thing I wanted to get into was just briefly talking about my childhood. Now, I'm gonna be honest with y'all, it's really hard for me to be vulnerable. I am working through that with my therapist currently, but I am going to be vulnerable with y'all because I feel like it's important to have these kinds of conversations. Growing up, I grew up in a very abusive household. We got beat for everything. We didn't get spankings, we got beatings. My mother had a special belt. We've been beaten bloody. We've been beaten and had bruises. We got beat for everything. We weren't allowed to make mistakes. Because of that, I spent my childhood in fear, constant fear. I was always scared when my mother was around or when I knew she would be around. I now suffer from horrible anxiety due to that. I also felt like I never had a voice. I couldn't ask questions. I couldn't give my opinion. I couldn't speak freely. I couldn't be myself. I had to be the version of myself that my mother wanted me to be. And that was in all aspects. I had no bodily autonomy. I couldn't wear the types of clothes that made me comfortable. I couldn't do the things that I like to do. I didn't like wearing skirts and dresses, and I hated getting my hair done. And I loved playing sports, and I didn't want to play with dolls. I wanted to play with racetracks and action figures and things of that nature. And I never got to do that type of stuff. Just not, before I even hit double digits in age, I was getting beat for not properly cleaning my room or eating a snack that was in the house or accidentally breaking a dish or just common mistakes that literally anybody, adults included, the mistakes that y'all make. But you can't beat an adult, but children, of course, beat them. And there were 5 of us, and we used to get lined up and beat in chronological order. I was the youngest, so I had to stand there in fear and watch each of my siblings get beat and wait for my turn. Do you know how traumatizing that is for a child? If you didn't live it, you probably don't understand. So now I live as an adult with crippling anxiety and depression. I have a fear of confrontation. I have a literal physical reaction to people yelling or having to stand face to face with somebody and have a literal confrontation with them, even virtual confrontations. I have a physical reaction to them. I am a people pleaser and I don't know how to handle when someone is angry at me. It really throws me off center. I also have a serious anxious attachment in relationships because I fear that I am going to be left or abandoned or always wondering if I'm doing something wrong. And, you know, getting your ass whooped as a child will lead to insecurities. Being talked to a certain type of way as a child will lead to insecurities in your relationships. And if you think that's not true, then I don't know what to tell you. And to this day, I'm 37 years old. I am 37 years old and I am still learning how to cope with all of the trauma that was accumulated in my childhood. Now, I want to be very transparent here and say that I hate talking about my childhood, not because of how traumatic it was. I hate talking about it because automatically people start thinking, well, that must be why he's trans. Please do not do that. People do not have to go through trauma to be trans. And trauma does not a transgender make. Just FYI. So, if you have tuned into my lives on TikToks, you've probably witnessed my parenting styles. Especially with, I mean, you've probably seen with both of my kids at this point. On my TikTok, if you're not following me on TikTok and you would like to, it's at Caden X Official. On my TikTok, I am my full self. You're going to see me exactly as I am. I get on live because I feel like so many people set up a stage. So many people set up a stage to get on TikTok live to sell a dream. I get on TikTok and I'm going to talk to you, and when I'm talking to you, my kids are going to walk in, and my kids are camera whores just like I am. So they want to be in the camera and we interact and we talk, and you'll see how I speak with my kids. One of the things I pride myself on is that I speak to my kids as though they're human beings, because guess what they are. I don't find sugar-coated ways to speak to my kids. I don't feel like I have to dumb myself down for them to understand me. And because of that, I'm always told, oh my gosh, you know, I was told it about Azalea, that she spoke so well and she's so mature for her age. And the same thing goes for Journey. That is not by an accident. For both of my kids, me and their other parent speak to them as though they're regular human beings. Kids are not stupid. Yes, they're still learning, but I guarantee you, even if you use certain words with kids, they can use context clues and figure out what it is that you're trying to say to them. One of the comments I get the most when I'm on TikTok live is, oh my gosh, you're so patient. And yes, I am to an extent, but I'm not perfect. I definitely lose my temper. There are times when I yell at my kids. There are times when, you know, I may snatch something or something to that effect, because I'm a human being. And we all have days. We have days when we're tired. We have days when we're not feeling well. And if you have kids, that, especially toddlers, they don't give a shit. They do not care if you're tired. If they're hungry, they need something to eat. If they want love, they want attention. If they're throwing a tantrum. And guess what? As their parent, it is your job to be there. What I will say is that kids don't understand boundaries most of the time. You can teach them as much as you want to teach them, but a child who is dysregulated or overly tired or unable to formulate the words to let you know how they're feeling, they don't give a shit about your boundaries. And that's just real talk. And honestly, kids can be flat out fucking annoying sometimes. You don't get to shit by yourself. You don't get to piss by yourself. You can't have a relaxing bath. You can't eat in peace. They want a piece. They want to help you take a bath. They're asking you a million questions while you're trying to push out your turd. There's no privacy. There's no boundaries. There's no none of that. And I am a neurodivergent person. I get overstimulated very easily. And there are times, it's those of us with ADHD, those of us with autism, those of us who are neurodivergent, when we get overstimulated, we can get really irritable. And those are the times when I tend to lose my cool. I'm not going to sit here and lie to y'all. I will lose my cool every once in a while. But the difference between myself and people who aren't conscious parents is following that breakdown or meltdown that I have, I will pull my kids to the side and I will apologize. And my apologies don't sound like, I'm sorry, but you should have. What I will say to my kids is, I'm sorry for yelling at you. It is not okay for daddy to yell at you, and I won't talk to you like that again. And also, when daddy says to do something, I need you to listen to me. It's okay for you to ask questions, but if you're not listening, then we're not on the same page. And we want to be on the same page, right? See, there's a difference between taking accountability for your actions and half-assed apologizing. Quotations. Because the first one was not an apology. Because as soon as I said the word but, my apology didn't mean shit, right? So I think that for me, those moments are important for me and my children, because not only does it teach them how to not to act, it teaches them that, one, I'm human, and it also teaches them about accountability, what accountability looks like. And I need them to understand that I see them as human beings and that I care about their feelings, and that I'm not just like this domineering parent that they need to be afraid of and can't be themselves around or can't make mistakes around. I've been seeing like an uptick of memes or videos, TikToks, Reels, whatever, of parents joking about gentle parenting. Now, the reason why I don't use the words gentle parenting is because when people hear gentle parenting, they think, oh no, Timmy, please don't do that. And Timmy's running amok, right? I like conscious parenting because conscious parenting, it makes you be aware of you. It's not about controlling your child. It's about regulating yourself and therefore being present for your child. The term conscious parenting was coined by I'm going to butcher this, so please bear with me. Dr. Shefali Tsabary, I think is how you pronounce it. She introduced conscious parenting, and the reason why is because we need to understand the impact childhood has on our lives. Conscious parenting is letting go of egos, desires, and attachment and not forcing behaviors on our children. Rather, we are focusing on our own language, expectation, and learning self-regulation. So whenever I feel myself getting dysregulated, because I'm telling you, as a parent, sometimes it's the frustration you feel is so irrational, and the smallest things will make you want to literally explode, because maybe you've been repeating yourself over and over again. Maybe you know that your child is testing your patience. Your child is tired but won't go to sleep. And it's like, this could all be so simple. Just take your ass to sleep and we can start over when you get up from this nap. But you're refusing, and now we're both dysregulated. I've learned some mindfulness techniques by honestly being on social media. When I feel like I'm going to yell, I will take my fist, and if you're watching, you'll be able to see. I'll take my fist and flatly pound my chest. For some reason, this works. Take a few deep breaths, and I do this before I get ready to speak. Because whatever anger you were feeling, it's almost like it knocks it out of you. Also, just taking a few breaths, becoming present in your body, and recognizing that the frustration and anger that you're feeling is just your body being dysregulated. And also recognizing that if your child is like throwing a temper tantrum or something to that effect, that they're probably feeling the same way, but they don't have the same techniques as you do. And right now, they're not trying to hear that shit. So now is not the time to be like, oh, little Timmy, let's take our mindfulness breaths, right? Need to lean into that temper tantrum. And what I mean by that is not telling Timmy, shut up, stop crying, or even trying to get Timmy to stop crying. What I do, what has worked a lot for me, is with Journey. Journey is my 3-year-old. What I do is when she's throwing herself around, I'll be like, what is it that you're feeling? If she doesn't seem to be wanting to answer me, because you know how toddlers are, she'll be like, ugh. So I'll start naming feelings. Are you upset? No. Are you sad? Yes. Well, why are you sad? They have to slow down for a second to think, why am I sad? Because you hurt my feelings. Well, I'm sorry I hurt your feelings. What did daddy do to hurt your feelings? And usually that rectifies the temper tantrum. But did she learn that overnight? No, she didn't learn that overnight. Did I have to breathe through a few hundred temper tantrums to get there? Absolutely. Was I able to teach her that in the middle of a temper tantrum? No. I also learned that letting her know when she needs hugs, she can just tell me. That also helped. So in the middle of a temper tantrum, do you need a hug? And she'll get the hug. She usually says yes. She'll come and we'll hug. And I'm not asking her what's wrong. I'm just kind of like letting her be there. And then I'll ask her, what's going on? What happened? What are you feeling? Because a lot of the time, those temper tantrums are just feelings that kids are not able to express to you. It's not usually just, God damn, this kid is bad, you know? And that's something that as a conscious parent, you learn. But I was saying that I've seen an uptick of memes and videos and things from adults saying gentle parenting may work for your kids, but I don't have gentle kids, or gentle parenting is for parents with gentle kids, or whatever. Just say you don't have any emotional maturity. Just say that you don't want to actually have to do the work. Just say that it's easier for you to yell and curse and scream at your kids and spank your kids, and because it gets you immediate results. Just say that, because I don't understand. There's no way that your child is just the spawn of Satan and you can't figure out another way how to discipline or work with your child. The problem is that people think it's either gentle parenting or beating your children. There's either gentle parenting or telling them to sit their motherfucking ass down. There's either gentle parenting or smacking the shit out of them and calling it spanking. Or if somebody walked up to you as an adult, if your spouse walked up to you, if your spouse told you they don't like when you do a certain thing and you did the same thing again, and they just walked up to you and smacked the shit out of you and said, didn't I tell you not to do this thing? That is domestic abuse. If you were at work and your boss asked you not to be late and you were late again because of traffic and your boss walked up to you and smacked the shit out of you and said, didn't I tell you there would be consequences if you were late again? That is assault, right? So explain to me why it's okay for you to slap or spank your child when they make a mistake. What is it that you're teaching them? And then the other problem that I have with spanking is a lot of y'all spank y'all kids and then never explain to them what they did wrong. You just spank them. Didn't I tell you not to do this? Because what you have or what you think you have is like subordinates. You don't have kids. You expect them to follow your rules with zero explanation. You don't have to explain yourself to your kids because they're kids and they live under your roof and you provide them basic bitch necessities that every child should have regardless. I put a roof over your head and food in your table on your table and I keep the lights on. Yeah, stupid, you were supposed to do that anyway. Because guess what? Those kids did not ask to be here. Guess what? You opened your legs or pulled out your pee and you decided to have sex. And as a result, you have those kids. Stop treating them as though they owe you something because they don't owe you shit. Joking about hitting your kids is never fucking funny. And while I'm on the topic, can we stop joking and laughing about how we used to get beat? Because it's not funny. It's trauma. We experience trauma. And to sit here and say that your kids are going to turn out fine or to sit here and pretend like we turned out fine is a crock of shit because we did not turn out fine. And most of us need a lot of therapy. Most of us do. And if you want to sit here and say, no, I'm perfectly fine, then explain to me why you keep attracting toxic partners. Explain to me why you have anxiety. Explain to me why you have insomnia at night. Explain those things to me first. Explain to me why you're continuing that generational trauma. Think about how you felt when you were a child, when your mother beat you. Even if you felt like that reason was justified, think about how you felt. Think about it. And tell me that it makes sense. I'll wait. Because the truth is, there's no reason why, if you love someone, you should be putting your hands on them. And you trying to justify beating your kids is the same as an abusive partner justifying why it's okay to hit you. Or the police justifying why they should have assaulted whoever they were arresting. If it's not okay for an adult, why is it okay? Why is it okay for a kid? The other thing I love about conscious parenting is that it encourages communication. It also encourages respectful language for the kids and the adults. It encourages us to learn how to speak to our kids and not be domineering. It encourages safety for our kids. It creates a safe space for our kids to feel like they can speak to us as well. When your kids can communicate with you and they feel safe to do so, there is a higher chance of harmony. There's a higher chance of not having to worry about, oh, my kids aren't gentle kids and all that good stuff. I'm sorry, y'all, by the way. I know you're going to hear me sniffing. You're going to hear me sniffling a lot. I am sick and have been, but I am trying to push through for this episode because I really wanted to connect with y'all. So bear with me. I apologize. So for me specifically, my goal is not to shut my children up. I don't care about setting them straight. And the main thing is, I don't want my kids to have a childhood that they have to heal from. Childhood is not meant to be survived. It is meant to be lived. Childhood is the one time in our lives where we should be carefree and free to explore who we are and figure out who we are. And it is not our job as parents to decide who our children are going to be or to dominate them or to force them to be someone that they're not. Because eventually these children are going to grow into adults. And I strive to be the parent that my kids want to be around. I strive to be that parent that my kids see as their best friend, that my kids see as their confidant, not the parent that my kids call because they feel obligated to or avoid until they can't avoid it anymore, or I'm calling like, damn, you don't call your dad anymore. I don't want to be that parent. I strive to have core memories with my children, and getting beat and things of that nature. I want that to be so foreign to them. And I know I'm succeeding because when I talk to my 9-year-old about children getting beat, she is in disbelief. And that's how I know I'm doing something right, because she can't believe that there are parents out here spanking kids that are Journey's age and younger. Can't believe that some of the things that kids are out here getting spankings for, expressing themselves and asking questions. To me, Beatings or spankings is the easy way out. It's lazy and it teaches children nothing but fear. It also teaches children how to do things in a way that is just a little bit more sneaky so that they don't get caught. I know that's what it was for me. And the more my mother beat me, the more rebellious I got. I went from being, all I wanted to do was be a good kid. That's all I wanted to do. I cared about getting good grades in school. And if I didn't get good grades in school, it was sincerely because I didn't understand. But I got beat for that. I got beat for getting anything under a B. I got beat for having a simple crush on a boy. I got beat for everything. I had to get my hymen checked on a regular. I started acting crazy in high school. I would bring people over my house and have sex with them in my mother's bed on purpose because I wanted to show her that I could be my damn self. That's what you're creating when you beat your kids. They are going to get their gotcha. If you don't believe me, ask people who grew up getting beat. I'm not talking about the ones who got spankings every blue moon. I'm talking about the ones that got beat on a regular. But honestly, you shouldn't be hitting your kids in any way, shape, or form. Because again, we did not turn out fine, and you have been gaslit into believing that you have. And this is why I think that everybody in my generation should be going to therapy. Speaking of therapy, this past summer, with my 9-year-old, I co-parent with her other dad, and her other dad lives in New Jersey and I live in Texas. I get her during the summer and every other Christmas holiday, winter break. I thought that raising a 9-year-old would be easier. They're older, so it's got to be easier, right? Wrong. Oh my God. When I think that there's a culmination of things that are happening when it comes to my daughter, but the end result was that I found myself being irrationally irritable, irrationally upset, and there were even times when I considered spanking her. I never did, but there were times when I did. And when I actually had the self-realization that I was having a hard time dysregulating myself, and when she would do things like lie or steal, I was triggered somewhere. I was super triggered. I was like, yep, it's time for me to go back to therapy. And one of the main reasons why I went back to therapy is because of her. Was it because she's such a bad child that I had to go back to therapy? No. It's because I need to figure out what is being triggered inside of me that is so that I can be present for my child in the best possible ways without being frustrated and angry. And if you're a parent and you feel the way that I feel at all, ever, I suggest you also get back into therapy, or get into therapy if you've never been. For me, it is worth the expense because in the long run, again, my goal is to culminate the proper relationship with my kids. So, I have some suggestions for y'all, some resources on conscious parenting that have helped me out tremendously. My very first one is I suggest following Destiny Davis. Her Instagram is at destiny.ann. I'm going to spell it for you. It's DESTINI.ANN. She has a course. It's called How to Not Lose Your Shit that I am in the middle of taking/watching. Even if you don't take her course, her content will change your perspective on parenting, I promise. What makes it even better is that she is a Black woman and she's beautiful, and so are her kids. Like, in all truth and honesty, I met her at a queer parenting conference in Atlanta, Georgia, and that was run by Mia Cooley. Mia runs, if you are looking for a community, she has an organization. It's called Parent X Hood on Instagram, one word, and her actual page is at the Big Mama Mia. So the THE Big BIG Mama MOMMA Mia MIA. She does not put up much about being a conscious parent. But if you are a Black queer person, that is not just mothers, a Black queer person who is a parent or even a prospective parent, her conference is life changing and it's Black as hell and it is so fun. I suggest y'all give her a follow. And another account on Instagram that I follow is the Conscious Parenting Hub, one word. They have a bunch of videos from a bunch of different people, and they have some very useful conscious parenting tips and hacks that have also changed my perspective. And I implement a lot of these with my kids. So when you see me and you're like, oh my God, Kaden is such a great parent, it's probably something that I learned from one of the people that I just mentioned. Said, I just will never understand how you can love someone and hit them and then tell them it's for their own good. That's abuse and that's gaslighting. And also, that's not love. You should not want to physically, emotionally, or mentally harm anyone who you love, but especially someone as innocent as a child. And if you're one of those people who is feeling like tightness in your chest and you're feeling like you want to argue with me and you feel like, I don't know, a hit dog, and you're one of those people that get under the comments and argue vehemently about being able to beat your children because you've convinced yourself that your child or your children are somehow incapable of learning discipline or that they're bad kids, then you need to understand that you're the problem. You need to understand that you're the problem and that there is something inside of you that is telling you that it is okay to beat these kids. And honestly, it's probably the laziness inside of you. It's probably the generational trauma inside of you. No matter what it is, you need to figure that out and stop beating your damn kids. I said what I said, and I am not letting that go. Okay? So yeah, I'm going to get out of my chest for a moment. Please, if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, follow the podcast, share it with your friends if you agree, if you disagree, share it, ask people their opinions, get some conversations happening around that because we're trying to break these generational curses, people. We want to raise tolerant, respectful, but outspoken and vibrant, acclimated children who aren't living in fear and suffering from crippling anxiety and searching on TikTok for anxiety hacks and taking ashwagandha every day because we can't afford therapy. Like, can we please break these generational curses? Also, if you're not following me on Instagram, and also if you're not transphobic, fatphobic, ableist, colorist, or any of the other ists, follow my Instagram. My Instagram is at KadenXOfficial, as is my TikTok at KadenXOfficial. If you would like to actually see in person these videos, the podcast videos, you would need to subscribe to my Patreon, which is also at KadenXOfficial, and it is linked in the comment section of this podcast. And if you can follow on the podcast, if you can't subscribe to the Patreon, give me a comment. Let me know what you thought about the episode. I love to interact with y'all. Okay? You can just comment where you're listening from, what you thought about this episode, maybe where I can follow you on social media, because I'll follow y'all back if you ask me. Please also, if you're listening to this podcast and maybe you have a question for me, because I've noticed an uptick in DMs and emails, well, not necessarily emails, DMs really, and comments from people who have questions for me. I do have a segment. It is called Ask Kaden. You can click the link in my comments section and fill out the inquiry form. You can click the link in my comment sections, fill out the inquiry form, and ask your question. Or you can just shoot a question directly to askkaden at transgendertime.com. Ask, A-S-K, Kaden, K-A-Y-D-E-N, at transgendertime.com. All right. So that is the end of Season 2, Episode 1. Thank you all so much for watching. And as always, have the day you deserve.